Right, so good morning, Steve. My name is Keith Potts. I'm working with Action Coach, and today we are with Steve Cantor. And Steve, thanks for taking the time. And I would love to hear about you and your business and what are the challenges. You know, a lot of people that read this or listen to this are in business, and always welcome advice from people who've already been through it all, and things you would do differently and how you got started. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure. Do I just jump into?
Yeah, just jump right in. You just go tell me a bit about yourself and how you got started and how you ended up with your software business.
Well, I'm a Memphian. My parents were Memphians their whole life. My grandparents on both sides came from Eastern Europe, from all different places when they were tiny kids. And here I am.
Yeah.
So I love to work. I've been involved in a number of, entrepreneurial supporting kind of roles. And I always bring to light one thing, and that is that, I've been an entrepreneur. My father was an entrepreneur. His father was an entrepreneur. His father was so, it's sort of a chain reaction. Of course, anyone can, learn to be an entrepreneur, but boy, is it a lot easier if you're just sort of gifted with it.
I was going to say, growing up in an environment like that, where your family is so involved in that, you learn the different type of work ethic that's needed to be a successful entrepreneur.
Yeah, I've been working since I was 12. Yeah. I'm not one of those overworked guys, but I do probably overwork myself.
No.
And that's okay. I enjoy it. I love it. So I had the good fortune at 19, you can tell that's been quite a few years ago, of writing my first piece of software code, and fell in love completely. It's kind of ironic. A friend of mine told me to take this course, this Fortran course. He was a few years older and didn't, thought it was kind of crazy and all that, but he's like, Stevie, which everybody called me Stevie back then. Stevie, you're going to love it. And boy, was he right. So I worked at the university while going to school because software was just completely exploding. And in graduate school, I basically put on my tie and went to interview at Holiday Inn, and within seconds I was hired. Holiday Inn was trying to hire more programmers than there were in this city, and that was back in the day when you could barely outsource, let alone you certainly couldn't go beyond the premises to do software work. So
the coding environment back then, was so different to what it is today. A friend of mine, talks to me about the making the punch cards and all the things that in the olden days, in a way. And so coding today is simplified. It's complicated, but it's simplified because of a universal way that things can be done.
No doubt. And one of the ways that it's exploded is the numbers of people that are involved. Back in the day, we were treated very well, like royalty, because we were this, elite group, but it was just us writing code. We didn't have a quality control group. We didn't have a design group. We didn't have user, interface groups. It's like, what is that? No. And you fast forward to today, and there's so many people involved in software development and implementation and all that, and it's a beautiful thing. Because of course it's needed. It's needed. It's way more important to write the right software than it is to write some technically glamorous code that's right. Isn't worth
keep it simple.
Yeah, that's right. Keep it simple and keep it according to what the business needs. And I've watched over the years, very good business people just be totally intimidated and reluctant to talk to software people to, somewhere in the last 20 years that went away because
Yeah.
everybody got comfortable with, you can talk about software and you don't have to be a programmer. Somewhere that clicked.
Yeah.
And, that's,
That was my experience. We had an idea for software that would build ads online, so
yes.
that a local franchise or a local dealer can go online and build ads. So it was in my head, but I needed a team of software developers to be able to put that into place for me. And because software developers are so technical, we had a design team that made the interfaces. So, because in the end, that's user interface is the most is a critical portion, because if it doesn't work, if people don't enjoy the usage of it, the software behind it doesn't mean anything. Yeah.
So you go through a bunch of years, and I've worked for literally every industry that there is out there. If there's one I could pick out that would be the most prevalent in all of it, it would be, I'd probably have to pick a few, and it would be mortgage banking, hospitality, logistics. But, I've done lots and lots of healthcare stuff and lots, there's really, all over the board. So it not only gave me all this experience for software, but all this at least exposure to a lot of different businesses.
Sure.
So as opportunities come along, so my wife and I have a coffee shop in Midtown called Otherlands, and I have to include her because she runs it. It's her baby, her place, and all that.
Yeah.
So we started making a probiotic beverage, selling it there, and called Benefizz, and people loved it. They didn't quite know, it's funny how just 5 years ago, how little people knew about probiotics and how much they know today. I mean, I'm not saying everybody's an expert, but at least, pretty much you get the nod that, oh yeah, I've heard about probiotics and I know they're good for you and blah, blah, blah. Whereas 5 years ago, it was like, huh, what?
Right.
So at least in Memphis, I have to say that.
I remember the first ads on TV that started talking about probiotics were all about yogurt.
Yeah, that's right.
That was where everybody was introduced. It's got all the good things for you.
Yeah. So we started making it. We then we got some partners, Epic Pivot, if you're familiar with those guys. And so, there was this kind of clear line. Okay, you guys are going to do marketing and business development, and we're going to produce the product and all that. Now that line goes woo like this. As you can imagine, it's been a beautiful relationship, and it's still going strong. However, as their name suggests, we have pivoted in lots of ways. We certainly still make Benefizz. But we opened a shared commercial kitchen called Other Foods. So Other Lands, Other Foods, which is, if you fast forward literally today, we have 34 groups that cook and make their whatever food products out of there. We have groups that are selling, sell wholesale to grocery stores, that of course the product is packaged and sold retail. We have groups that go to markets, events. We have groups that do to-go food or sell in bulk to other groups that are reselling. So that's really today. I've been for some time saying there's a kind of approaching this halfway point of how I spend my time. Well, I'm definitely half process doing software and half other foods doing food production business. So
I think that's an amazing revolution that's happening with these group kitchens, because it's giving access to those people who would never be able to have commercial kitchen to be able to manufacture the product. So basically you're coming in, you're making your product when you need to, and you don't have all the overhead of running a full-time commercial kitchen. I think it's just an amazing revolution. And,
we're Department of Agriculture certified. So once they come in, they can produce food there, sell it anywhere in the country. That alone is a big deal. Obviously, the equipment and the space and the facility and all that.
Yeah, I would imagine there's a lot of local brands that people don't realize have made in those environments.
That's
and
right.
It wouldn't.
And they all start there.
Yeah.
And we have large groups that are doing prototyping, and they do some video and training and stuff in there that you wouldn't think would be in our kitchen, but they are. but our core groups are small batch producers, and it is a beautiful thing. Just like your interest, watching groups grow.
Yep.
There's this nice, neat line that goes like this, but of course it's
right.
It's very jagged. And I hope I tell everyone that I have ever met, because I have met lots of people in this business, that it's your business. Your line looks different than those people's line. Gather some information from how they got there and all that, but don't just change your direction just because you think what they're doing is great. They're doing it because it's their business. I'm sure I'm not telling you anything, but I'd like to tell the world that it's a great thing to observe other businesses, but you got to bring it back home to your business. And
it's obviously I've been entrepreneurial myself over the years, and somebody, when I got asked to be part of Action Coach, it was like a accumulation of all that experience to be able to help other businesses, because they all start out with that passion, for out of your kitchens for making their products, and then they come to a point where the passion alone is not enough. They need some business experience.
Absolutely.
And so coaching gives you a chance to work with people to help them navigate those bumps in the road, and to help them know how to build a proper team, because they start a business because they love probiotics, they love hot sauce, whatever there is, and then you reach that point where you're just in a routine where you're just producing it. And coaching gives you the advantage of being able to talk to somebody outside and have a different perspective.
There you go.
And just help you go through that. And hopefully, the experience I've had, and like you talking about entrepreneurial, it's a great gift back to business owners, no matter where they are in their state, whether they're overwhelmed with success or whether they've stagnated. There's always an opportunity to work with those people.
Yeah.
So tell me a bit about the coffee shop.
So Otherlands is very much a community coffee shop. Been around for 30 years.
That is fantastic.
So one of those crazy stories of how it got started. My wife was in the futon business back in the day when you actually made futons, beautiful kind of craft thing, which of course that has gone away. There's been pivot, but she also runs a little gift shop there. And when she got in the current building that she's in now, which was 30 years ago, it's on Cooper. It was a split building, obviously split. We think it was like an Italian grocery store back in the day, way back.
Right.
And so she had the gift shop and still doing some futon stuff in half of it, and tried for months in Memphis, Tennessee, to get someone to open a coffee shop next door.
Yeah.
Nobody.
No.
So she did it.
I mean, that's pretty.
That shows you how much has changed.
I was just going to say, 30 years ago, that was like on the edge of innovation, and why do we do a coffee shop?
Oh, yeah. Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Starbucks is out there telling everybody, their anniversary and big deal, and like they invented the whole idea. And people like your wife and stuff were out there ages ago, with these same concepts and doing that same thing, and keeping it local and making it into
That's right.
a local destination.
That's exactly right.
And
so it's very much a community, and things have changed over the years. You know, of course, it used to be, I would say, I would like to make the statement that it was sort of more bohemian back then, although today, once you kind of get past the crust of the people there, it's still got plenty of bohemian, you know, atmosphere and all that, plenty. And I would say for Memphis, it is its thing. But the you know, the change in demographics, somewhere certainly, you know, in the last 15 years, you know, the numbers of laptops and tablets and all that has exploded.
Yep.
And, you know, even because, you know, one of my chores, as you can imagine, is the technology stuff and
sure,
you know, keeping the Wi-Fi going and all that. Well, you know, everyone that walks in there now has a phone in their pocket or their purse. Yeah. And as they walk in, they connect to the Wi-Fi. So it's this monstrous deal. It's gone from this, oh, maybe you'd like to connect to the Wi-Fi, you know,
yeah,
here's the password.
Yes.
It's like, no, you know, everyone wants to connect.
It's going to be open now, yeah.
And they're, you know, a lot of them are working. I mean, they may just be working for the first 5 minutes that they're there and then enjoying their own time, or they may be full on working there. Yeah. And they're studying there. The colleges, you know, from CBU, University of Memphis, Rhodes, it's loaded up in there. And it's a big enough place, fortunately, to house all that and to house, you know, people eating and drinking, and there's a big deck. And then you've got people that are studying. I mean, of course, they eat and drink too, but they, you can tell. You can kind of
work from home.
Go by what
working from home, I think, has been a big boon to that sort of space too, because we're all, I say we, because that's what I do. You know, we always look for places that we can meet with people, and you know, those the coffee shops have become oasis, but to be able to hold those small meetings and things, because there are so few places that are available, you know, unless they're going to be really expensive, or instead of renting out rooms somewhere, you just meet up at a coffee shop, and
exactly
they become
and everybody appreciates
oasis. Yeah,
doesn't have to be anything fancy. It's okay.
Right,
so
right,
it's,
exactly.
You know, kind of funny how the business attire has changed.
Exactly.
Yes. Except for the, you know, it's crazy. The poor law. My brother's a lawyer, so it's kind of crazy. The poor lawyers are still, you know, having to wear suits and ties in court, and it's like, what? And I don't, you know, as you can tell, I could care less about all that stuff, but it is kind of strange. But for sure, I mean, when I think back to working at Holiday Inn, we had to have a tile.
Yeah.
And that was just part of it.
That's right.
We didn't even ask or what. It was just like, oh yeah. But boy, those ties were gone. I was just at Holiday Inns for 3 years, and then I transitioned to consulting, and then started my own business. But even within those 3 years, the ties were gone.
Ties were gone, yeah.
It's like,
so since you're such an enterprising guy with, you know, several different things going on, how do you work the work-life balance? I mean, that's a big topic for people these days. And
I love to travel. If I could say, that is, you know, which of course today I think everybody appreciates that hiring people is the monster agenda.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, and of course the pandemic has, you know, turned that into more than a monster, whatever that means. But certainly hiring the right people is a huge thing, and it takes, it is an evolving thing, because you can't just say, well, I'm going to hire somebody that's going to take care of this and that's it. Okay, now go on. No, it's a, you know, it's a ever changing thing. So my traveling puts that in perspective. You know, how do I get out of town? I do. I you know, sometimes I sneak out of town, but you know, and of course, you know, my sort of software upbringing allows me to do that, because for years I have been doing software development remotely.
Yeah.
You know, way before there was Zoom, we've been doing video,
Right.
conferencing. Nobody really cares to see anybody, but
Yeah.
all kinds of technology to share things. So that's but I guess what I'm trying to say is that sort of sets my life balance, as you said, that
Yeah.
that's what I love to do. And it doesn't have to be far. I go to Shelby Forest on a regular basis.
Yeah.
I hike the trails. I have, sometimes it brings me to tears that there are kids out there that have never been hiking,
Yeah.
in a trail, or
Yeah.
never seen a lake or whatever. And, but just these beautiful things that really don't cost anything. Of course, you have to have the understanding and the willingness to travel, but it's not like you have to go far
Right.
to do that. Now, I do like to go far.
Yeah.
In fact, if you're packed and you're ready and you've got a plane waiting for us, let's go to Costa Rica right now. So
there's a general thought that if you're starting a business, you need to be working 7 days a week, 20 hours a day in order to get that, which never works out particularly well. And it's important that for people to recognize that taking those opportunities, taking those days is as important as the work you're doing, because it refreshes you and helps you get fired up again, to get back to work again. And even, I'd say, even if it's just going to Shelby Farms or just going to a park or going to the movies, something that just takes you away from that everyday pressure of working. And there's this cultural thing where if you're an entrepreneur, you've got to be a hard driver. You've got to be in at crack of dawn, and you don't leave until midnight and stuff. And with a failure rate that we have in the US, 85% of businesses fail after 5 years. There's all sorts of contributing factors, but statistics say that that's one of the big ones. People just get burnt out, and
for sure,
and they lose the perspective, and therefore the business dives. So
it's funny how my social life has changed, because for all the years, when you talk about software, it used to be, you do software, and then it was like, what is that? But either way, even today, you talk about software and the conversation goes, it just kind of, it goes to zero. You talk about food production, making food that gets sold in grocery stores, and people are like, I want to see that.
Yeah,
I want to come to your facility. Like, come on. It's just kind of a funny, because I've always been I am a social guy. I'm a little bit of an anomaly. Most people think of software developers that are in the closet somewhere, hunkered down and all that. And I can do a little of that, but that's not my thing. I talk to businesses. I'm trying to solve bigger problems than just software. So
when you talk about software, is that because people just don't even think about software anymore? It's just an integral part of their day.
That's right.
It's like when you were talking about the coffee shop and everybody having phones. I can't remember who it was described them as they're mobile computers that just happen to let you call.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And I just thought it was a great statement to make, because that's really what it is. You're walking around with a computer in your pocket, and one of the features is you can make phone calls.
That's right. And it's funny how ignorance is what it causes fear, and it causes people to go, oh, I don't know what that is. Whereas people have been listening to radios and using refrigerators and driving cars, and those people don't anymore know how any of that stuff works through the mail. But they use it, and so they're like, oh yeah, the radio, sure, I know what that is. A satellite radio, sure, I know. Really? Do you? It's like, I don't think so, but that's okay, because and it's the same with software. They know that they've got an app.
It's pretty hard to innovate a refrigerator these days. When you're making shopping lists on a refrigerator, innovations come in. It needs another breakthrough somewhere.
That's right.
It's just gone from everything. Well, I know I've taken more of your time than I intended, but it was really nice talking to you. And it was great to hear about it. And, you know, and again, like I said at the beginning, meeting people like you and the history that you have and the coffee shop and the kitchen and the software, and to me is an example of what's possible. It's the people in the United States that's not available all over the world, and more people need to appreciate what goes into making this country work. So thank you for your time today.
Please come to the kitchen sometime.
I would love to. I would be in touch. Thank you.
I'll give you the 5-minute tour.
That sounds great. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.